screaming when that creepy music came on.
Hey, there's a trick.
Pro tip for parents.
That's a trick to try.
Creepy music in your house, all right. Hey, glad you're here. My name is Michael. I'm one of the pastors here. This is Pastor Suzanne. We're glad you're here for the Stranger Things series. And before we get started, go ahead and pull out your smartphones. If you're a guest here, if you want to do this, is great. That's fine. Trust me, Jesus doesn't mind if you have your phone in church. All of us got it. Some of us are checking it during the message, which is great. All right, but text to this number, 256-291-4996. If you're new here and you want to get in a conversation loop with us about what's happening here at Heritage Church, how you can fit in, things like that, text welcome to that number, and they'll give you some prompts, and you just follow it on through, fill out what it asks you to fill out. We won't misuse your information in any way. We just want to get in a conversation with you. If you're a regular attender, text here to the same number. And if you want to come to Pizza with the Pastors, which is just a very easy, low-key time to get to know us, we get to know you. We do it first Sunday of the month. We are not doing it in September because it's Labor Day, and a lot of y'all will be on vacation somewhere. So we're going to do it and on October, the first Sunday in October, and so we'd love to have you there. Please sign up for that. And Suzanne, yes.
If you're our guest here this morning, we welcome you, all of our guests right here. We're so glad you're here. If you're first time visiting with us, we're so glad that you've chosen to worship with us today. We know that you have many choices and places to worship, so it's a gift to have you here with us. We have a small gift from us to you, and we're just so glad to see you. If you've come to check Heritage out for the first time and Heritage isn't the church for you, please let us know. We'd be glad to help guide you to a church where you can grow and serve God to the best of your ability.
So, on to our Stranger Things series. It's acting a little strange right now, so we're glad you're here. Now, how many people have started watching Stranger Things since we started this series?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how many people have seen it already?
A whole bunch of them.
You guys are binge watching this
Yeah.
thing. It's on Netflix. It's a series on Netflix, and it was such a huge hit. How many people have watched it so far? It was
We got like
ridiculous.
40 million in the first 5
like
days.
more people than voted in the last election, I think.
Pretty much.
And watched the Stranger Things
Yeah.
series. It's a great show. She kind of describes it like Stand By Me mixed with aliens. That's the way she describes it. It really is. It's got a little sci-fi in it. It's got a little bit of a monster movie. It's a coming of age kind of show. And it's a series, and it's got 3 seasons, and it's really good if you get a chance to watch it. It's set in the 80s, so some of you really connect with that. It's set in the 80s. Okay. 29. All right. It's set in the 80s, and it's great. If you dig the 80s, you like that kind of music, the look, and all that stuff, it will bring back memories for you. But it's about kind of a government conspiracy. There's this research hospital. They're doing strange things to people they probably shouldn't be doing. And in the midst of that, they do something weird and open up this portal to a new world. And it's not a nice world. And they call it the Upside Down. For obvious reasons, once you start to watch it. It's called The Upside Down, and it is so creepy and so weird, and there's monsters there. And so, this has been kind of a heavy message series. We wanted to kind of lighten it up a little bit for you on this last one of the message series. So, I think Pastor Suzanne's got something for you.
We need 3 volunteers. Everyone's going to win a prize. 3 volunteers that would like to come and participate in our Stranger Things trivia contest. If you watch it, you're brave, come on up. 3 people. Come on, don't be shy. First service, we got all 3. Let's go. 3 of you. Who wants to compete? Come on. You're going to win no matter what. Here you go.
There's our 3 right there. Come on, Phil.
Come on. That's it. We already got it.
We got it.
These 3.
Too slow.
All right. No, you
No,
she's already here. She's already here. Come on. All y'all come look at us. She don't have to look at them. She don't have to be embarrassed. Look at us. We can do 4.
Come on up. Come on. You were coming. It was a tie. We can do 4.
Or Nicole, excuse me. My bad. Yeah, we can do 4. We can do 4. Okay, are you ready? So this is kind of a rapid fire thing, right? So you're going to be asked an individual question. You can look it up. You don't have to look at them. That's weird. Just look at us. Okay. All right. So that's weird for you, not for me, but anyway. But you're going to ask a question. If you miss it, you're done. Does that make sense? Is that okay? So either you get the first one. What state does Stranger Things take place in?
Yes. She was struggling. You didn't have it.
Maybe you get another question. Okay, here's your other question. What game do the boys play? Okay, good. You got that right. How does Joyce communicate with... I just asked her.
Oh, okay, you got it. Yeah, all right.
How does Joyce communicate with her son in season 1? Perfect.
Boom.
Who does Dustin dance with as a snowball? Okay.
Ah.
Lucky for you.
First one out. No, wait.
You get a prize.
You get some
You have to watch the show to get that. Okay. All right. What is the name of the terrifying creatures in Stranger Things? Demogorgons. Very good. What are the boys dressed up like for Halloween? Very good. Jonathan plays a song for Will in season 1. What band?
The Clash.
Very good.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
All right, Eve, are you ready? What video game does Billy beat Dustin at the arcade? No.
No, man.
Dig that. That's okay. You win your very own Stranger Things character. How awesome was that? Yay! Awesome. Congratulations to you. Okay, what is Lucas's last name? Okay. What is Jonathan Byers, Will's brother's hobby? Very good. Where do Billy and Max move from? Very good. How did Barb cut her hand?
You're dead. You're done.
Stop.
She's killing it.
Do you know how Barb cut her hand? You got it. Very good. Okay, so here's your prize. You're both going to get one, so it doesn't matter. These are from the Scoops Chips Ahoy, the restaurant in the mall from the show. And Phil, yours are from Starport, where they hung out. So, y'all give a round of applause for playing with us. Good job. Good job. Way to go.
I'm sorry, Phil. I didn't mean to bug you out there. but
I'm thinking that she could have answered them all. And
There
I
was
have some
no
hard ones.
hesitation.
It gets harder. I have some hard ones. I think she could have done them all. Maybe I'll show these. I'll quiz you afterwards and see. Okay. Thank you all for being such great sports.
So why would we preach based upon this sci-fi kind of monster show thing? It's the upside down world. You don't need to watch TV, but just for a few minutes, watch the news to see how upside down our world is. Things are not right here. They're not right. And God is trying to make the world right side up. That's the why of Jesus. We're trying to make the world right side up. But the world has always been upside down. You know, when you're born, you kind of born into this whole thing a little bit innocent, and people don't want to bum you out your whole life or anything like that. So they try to tell you, you know, it's okay, everything's good, we're good. And then, you know, Revelation time, you figure out that the world's kind of jacked up, right? When you get old enough to realize it, and that things aren't the way they're supposed to be. But here's the thing, it's always been that way. We just have instant 24/7 access to how messed up it is now. It has always been that way. Back in the time when the Bible was written, it was that way. Peter, one of Jesus' followers, and one of the leaders of the early church, wrote to the church to try to warn them about this. That this is the nature of the world, and that you have a special place in this. Listen to what he said. He says, I'm writing to God's chosen people who are living as foreigners. They're living as people who don't belong here. God the Father knew you and chose you long ago, and His Spirit has made you holy, and as a result, you have obeyed Him and have been cleansed by the blood of Jesus Christ. You are being called out to help make this upside-down world right side up, and that means that everything about how you live is different. You cannot live for this upside-down world. You'll just become a part of it. God has called you out in the midst of this upside-down world.
So we've been looking at the book of 1 Peter. And if you've never read the book of 1 Peter, it's 5 short chapters, and you should go take a read. It's not one that we usually read. And his words are kind of harsh, but they're also true. Because when it comes to trials, we know this, that trials are a reality. Whether you might be in a trial right now, you might be coming out of a trial, or a trial may be heading your way. And it should be something in us that causes us to pause for concern, and it causes us to, we shouldn't be caught off guard when this happens. Trials are as natural as breathing in our lives. But when we have these trials, a lot of times as Christians, we think that we get a pass, that it's not going to happen, that we'll get a bye. But it's not if you'll be in a trial, it's when you'll be in a trial. Peter put it this way. He said, "Dear friends, don't be surprised at the fiery trials you're going through, as if something strange were happening to you." Jesus said this to us when it comes to trials. He said, in this world, you will have trouble. You will have trials. You will have tribulation. But take heart, because I have overcome the world. I have the most adorable, beautiful little 3-year-old little granddaughter. And she thinks she is 35 instead of 3, right? Now I'm talking about little kids, you know, kind of flaunt it. And she was over at my house the other day, and she had her little swimsuit on, and she had her little beach towel with her little sprinkled snow cones on it, on her beach towel. She put her hands back behind her, she crossed her legs, she said, "I'm relaxing." And I thought, girl, you better enjoy that relaxation, because life isn't all about relaxation, is it? But you know, and then I had this thought while she was laying there. I thought, oh, little one, there are just some things I want you to know. There are some things that I want you to know. And you know what? One of them is I want her to know that trials are a reality. Because knowing that trials are a reality is one of the most encouraging things that none of us really want to know, isn't it, though? You see, in this upside-down world, our trials are a reality.
Not only are trials a reality, Peter goes on and he says that God has revealed it in our trials. Listen to what he has to say. This is a little hard to hear sometimes. He says, instead of being surprised when that trial happens, be very glad. And you can just pump the brakes right there, because no one, and I mean no one, is glad in the middle of a trial. No one wants to go through pain and suffering and deprivation and feel happy about it. But Peter's saying there's a reason for joy and peace even in the midst of your trial. You might not see it right when it happens, but it's there. Listen to what he says it is. He says, for these trials make you partners with Christ in his suffering, so that you will have the wonderful joy of seeing his glory when it's revealed to all the world. There's something about a trial that will bind you to the heart of Christ in a way that nothing else can. We are hardwired by our very nature to seek our comfort and our security. That's part of who we are. Food, shelter, clothing, comfort, security, things like that. Those are all very basic needs. And we have to have those needs met, but we're not supposed to stop at comfort. We're supposed to go past that. We're supposed to go beyond comfort to something else. And when we stop at comfort, when our main goal is just to get comfort, just to meet our physical and emotional needs, then when we get there, what happens is we get a little lazy. And spiritually, we atrophy a little. We don't grow like we should, because if we're not being tested, if we're not being pushed, if we're not struggling a little bit, we don't grow and learn spiritually. And a trial will do something to you that no amount of comfort ever can. It will reveal to you. We talked that whole last series about having eyes to see and ears to hear. Trials are where that happens in spades. Where you begin to see things about yourself that you can't see in comfort. You begin to see character deficiencies or character strengths. You begin to see where I'm brave and maybe where I'm a little scared. All the nonsense of comfort gets ripped away, and all of a sudden all you're left with is your true self, and God gives you a really good insight into who and what you are. But not only that, God will give you his eyes to see the world who is struggling with the exact same thing.
Amen.
You will have eyes to see and ears to hear that you did not have in your comfort when that was all you sought. It's not about seeking a trial. It's about seeking Christ no matter what. That is my higher calling. That is the thing I have to go after. That when I seek Christ first, I'm going to grow and see things in a way that are real close to the way Christ sees them. Especially in my trials. In an upside-down world, God is revealed in our trials.
Peter has such powerful words for us in 1 Peter. If you haven't read it, pick it up and spend a little time just reading it. But Peter goes on and he tells us that God helps us to do right in our trials. He says, so if you're suffering in a manner that pleases God, keep on doing what is right and trust your lives to the God who created you, for he will never fail you. You know, we forget that about God. When it comes to God, a lot of times we have short memories. We have a little bit of spiritual amnesia. You know, when we get in the middle of a trial, we doubt God. And we forget that God is available to us. And sometimes when we're in the midst of a trial, we kind of become self-absorbed. And we think we're the only ones who are suffering. And we just want the suffering to stop. When we want the suffering to stop, what we do, sometimes we'll turn to something or someone, and all that usually does is make your trial even worse.
Amen.
But God calls us to do what is right. So God says things to us like this: love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, forgive one another, trust in me no matter what you're going through. But those things that God teaches us, they're not natural for us, but they are the heart of God. You see, when we're in the midst of a trial, if we follow our own heart, our heart's going to take us to places we really don't want to go. But if we'll follow the heart of God, God will take us to places that we could never imagine.
Amen.
And we should never go alone. You know, I don't know what it is, but whenever we go through a trial, what's the first reaction for a lot of us? We insulate, don't we? We cut off, we don't talk to other people while we're going through the trial. We'll do that. But we need each other. You need believers more than ever when you're going through a trial. Do not cut yourself. I remember one time I was going through a trial when it was all over with. I was teaching school at the time, and my principal said to me, "You deserve an Academy Award." And I was pretty proud of myself. I thought, "You're right." Yeah, I didn't. No, I didn't. I deprived myself of support. Can I get an amen on that? I deprive myself of support. Do not deprive yourself of support when you are going through a trial. We just can't do it. Last week, our worship leader, Matt, was filling in for Tom King, and when he filled in for Tom King, he was telling a story. I wrote the words down. He said that he had been going through something, and he started coming to church here, and there was a song that we sang, and there was a line in the song that meant something to him. And the line is this: "The chasm is far too wide. I never thought I'd reach the other side. Your love never fails."
Amen.
When we are going through a trial, we need that reminder. We need each other. Surround yourself with other believers. When our daughter was a teenager and she'd get ready to go out on Friday night, and you know parents, when your kids get ready to go out the door, you're always a little nervous about what they're going to do. And Savannah, we'd hug her and tell her to have a good time. And right before the door would close, I would say these words to her: "Do what's right. Do what's right." And you know what? When you're going through a trial, do what's right. If you're going through a trial and you feel like you can't do anything, do the next right thing. Peter's words echo to us across the century. When we are going through a trial, we need to do what's right. Because in this upside-down world, God will help us do what's right in the midst of our trials.
Yeah. And Peter goes on, he says this. He says, God remembers us in our trials. There is nothing, and I mean nothing, more lonely than suffering. It's so hard. And no one really, unless they're going through the exact same thing as you, can fully understand what you're going through. It's hard. And it's strange when she says, when you get with somebody that actually does get it, it feels like a weight's lifted off your chest and you can actually breathe a little bit.
Amen.
Here's the thing you need to know. God isn't abandoning you in that trial. So many people go there. So many people think, and especially if you have abandonment issues, if people have let you down in the past when it was a tough time, and people have forsaken you, and people have turned their backs on you when you were struggling, and it's easy to project that onto God and say, well, God doesn't care about me either. And there's nothing further from the truth. Peter reminds us, he says, God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. So humble yourselves under God's mighty power. And at the right time, He'll lift you up in honor. Give all your worries and cares to God. When you're in the midst of a trial, it's so easy to pull back, like she said, from everybody, to insulate, to isolate, to feel sorry for yourself, to feel all alone, to do all those things. And it would be so easy to look at God and say, well, if you turn your back on me, I'm turning my back on you. I am done with you. If you can't remember me in my time of need, I'm not going to be there for anything you want me to do. And we have a choice. We can turn our back on God, or we can turn towards God's grace in the midst of the trial.
Amen.
It's the power that's going to get you there when your power runs out.
Amen.
And your power will run out. Your strength will run out. Your ability to operate will run out. Your ability to control will run out. And God's grace will be there for you if you turn toward it. If your pride doesn't get the best of you, if your anger at God doesn't get the best of you, if your anger at the world doesn't get the best of you, and instead of turning from God and turning from others, you turn toward God and toward that grace and throw yourself in it.
Amen.
You will find yourself floating in a sea of peace you never thought you could be in. You've got to throw yourself into it. You've got to swim in it. You've got to breathe it. It's got to become the thing, the only thing that can keep you going because everything else has failed. But here's the trick. Don't turn back once the trial is over. Stay in it. Stay in it as long as you can. We have this thing of once the trial's over, oh, I'm back on my 2 feet, I'm good again, I can operate on my own power. You're just asking for it again. Stay in the grace. That's the trick. Maybe that's the blessing hidden in the trial. Is that we have a chance to fully put ourselves in God's grace. You know, God remembers us in our trials.
You know, Peter's written some really powerful words in this book about trials. And if you know anybody going through trials, it's a great book to recommend to them. We keep saying that over and over again because it's so very, very important. But to be honest with you, this has been kind of a hard series to preach and to talk about because we know that there are lots of people going through trials right in this room. All through our church, we have people who are struggling with trials. We have people struggling with addiction. We have people struggling in their marriages. We have people struggling with their children. We have people struggling with their health. We have people who are brokenhearted about the health of their family members. We have people who are struggling with their children. We have people who are struggling with their finances. There are people around you all the time that are going around trials. But at the very end of the book, Peter really gives us the golden part of this. You see, God restores us from our trials. Peter says this in 1 Peter 5:10. And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. You see, when we're going through a trial, we just want it to stop. And some of us will say these words when we're in a trial. I can't take it anymore. And sometimes people will be like, I don't even know how I'm going to live through this. Some people, they feel like they're just destined for a life of misery. That they're never going to laugh again and mean it. But here's the deal. These trials, in some way, through the power of God being with us, and through what we go through, we come out the other side, and our faith is stronger.
Amen.
And we are strengthened. And yes, when you emerge from the other side, you will be battle-scarred. And yes, you will be battle-weary, but you will also be battle-wise.
Amen.
And you will know that when you face a trial, that you can be strong. Because when you face the trial, you are stronger after you face that trial. And here's the deal. No, you can't be brave if nothing bad's ever happened to you. These trials help make us that. And then you'll be firm. Oh, you'll believe. Go through a trial. You'll believe in God. You'll believe in the power of God's presence. You'll believe that God is always with us. You'll believe in God's character, that He is who He says He is. You will believe that our God is faithful. And then finally, after you go through a trial, you'll be steadfast. You know something. You'll know something. You'll know in the quiet of your heart. You'll know another trial's coming. But you know what? You'll know that you're a survivor. And there's nothing that you and God can't get through together. You know, when I was thinking of things that I want my sweet little granddaughter to know, I want her to know that trials are a reality. And that's an encouragement that no one wants to hear. But this is the encouragement that everyone needs to hear.
Amen.
That when we go through a trial, we have to remember that our God is a God of restoration. God restores, God restores, God restores. No matter how broken you are, no matter how banged up you are by this world, our God is a God who restores you. And in this upside-down world, what a beautiful message to know that our God restores us from our trials.